Yes, sir.
You're watching First Alert 7 News at 9 on the CW and live on YouTube with Lauren Munt and weather with Tom Tiefertiller.
Thanks for joining us for First Alert 7 News on the CW, and thanks to those of you joining us live on our YouTube. I'm Lauren Munt, and our top story tonight comes out of Odessa. This morning, residents of the north side of town notified the city that they were having low water pressure issues. Upon investigation, crews determined that the Rainbow Water Tower had lost all of its water. As of 5:30 this evening, they're still not sure what caused this, and as a result, the area has been placed under a boil water notice. Take a look at this map. The area highlighted in the red on the map is where that boil water notice is in place. And until further notice, all water used for washing, drinking, and cooking should be boiled for 2 minutes before use. Crews were on scene working to refill the water tower around noon, and the city says that they hope to have the issue fixed within the next 24 to 48 hours. We'll of course update you as we learn more. Idea Yukon was forced to send students home today at noon because of that water outage. And at this time, it's unclear if this was related to the water tower incident because according to Idea Public Schools, a private contractor hit a water line. But as of this evening, the city of Odessa says that they're unaware of any line breaks. Classes will resume tomorrow, and Idea Yukon will be following the boil water notice. Other schools being affected by the boil water notice include Basin and Jordan Elementary. According to ECISD, students at those schools will be given access to bottled water, and the district's food service team will be following all of their boil water notice protocols. Tracking crime out of Midland now, this man, 32-year-old Raven Robert Rodriguez, was found guilty of capital murder, and he was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole today. Back in December of 2022, Rodriguez broke into his ex-girlfriend's hotel room, chased her onto the balcony, and then he stabbed her more than 20 times before he fled the scene. The murder was captured on surveillance footage, and evidence showed that there had been a history of domestic violence between the two. We're going to take a pause now and talk your weather forecast with Chief Meteorologist Tom Tiefertiller. Tom, what can we expect?
Well, we are looking at pretty quiet conditions out there this evening, but it's a little bit warmer, and today we were a little bit warmer. Take a look at those high temperatures. Reached into the upper 80s, but look at the 90s west of the Pecos River. Wind coming in right at 90 degrees and 93 down towards Presidio. Here's a look at on Lake Pontchartrain in New Orleans, Louisiana. As the fury of Hurricane Francine starts to move in, you can see some of the flooding as some of that storm surge starts to roll in, and very heavy rainfall there in the city of New Orleans. Back home to West Texas, we are looking at a quiet one out there. Temperatures into the upper 70s right now across the area with not a lot of wind in comparison to New Orleans, where the gusts lately have been up around 50 miles an hour. We're seeing them around 10 miles an hour, and your hourly temperatures overnight tonight, not quite as cool as it has been, down into the lower 60s, it looks like overnight. And tomorrow, looks like we'll get close to the 90s, if not above it, later this week. We'll talk more about that coming up here in a few minutes.
Thank you, Tom. Today we remember 9/11 and honor those that were lost on this day 23 years ago. Some spent the day placing flags around the community. Others attended memorial ceremonies. And a few climbed 110 flights of stairs. We're sharing moments from all of these events, starting with the American Tribute. This ceremony happens annually at Memorial Gardens Park. Flags, each representing a person lost on that day, were placed around the park.
It is extremely important for us here in Odessa to remember those that have been lost. Our first responders are our heroes here, and they're always willing to put themselves out there to protect us.
Now, this ceremony normally takes place before 9/11, but due to the heavy rains in the area, it was postponed. But the flags will remain up until September 17th. And today, Crunch Fitness invited members of the community to climb 110 flights of stairs in remembrance of the firefighters who climbed the towers to save those trapped in the World Trade Centers. Over the last several days, events have been held not just here, but all across the country.
5 or 6 of our members from Odessa Fire Rescue participated in the Midland Stair Climb. There was 5 of us, myself included, that went to Dallas for the Dallas Stair Climb. And those are both events that are put on in remembrance of the people that lost their lives that day. The Dallas one especially for the first responders and the 343 firefighters that died on that day, New York firefighters that died on that day.
If you want to take part in the Crunch 9/11 stair climb, Crunch is allowing anyone to come out and take part even without a membership. And the Midland ISD Junior ROTC program held a ceremony at Centennial Park in downtown this morning. There was a presentation of the colors, a performance from the Midland High School Choir, and a moment of silence. Now, none of these high schoolers were alive 23 years ago when our country was attacked.
For me, it's really important as an American and just as a young person in America to just remember and respect our country. So many people nowadays just don't have any respect for America, and I think it's very important for us to just remember what our country has done for us and what we've been through as a country.
This event was open for anyone to attend and show their respects. And one of the lasting effects of 9/11 was the creation of the Transportation Security Administration, or TSA. According to the agency, they screened more than 858 million air travelers last year alone. But a group of lawmakers say too many passengers are still able to fly unchecked. And now they're forming the Aviation Safety Caucus to make sure that no one slips through the cracks. Molly Martinez reports.
Leaders behind the creation of the Aviation Safety Caucus say their objective is to shore up security measures put in place after the attacks of 9/11. Their first order of business is closing what they call a major loophole.
Today, terrorism remains a very real threat.
Representative Nick Langworthy, who chairs the new Aviation Safety Caucus, is concerned about security gaps when it comes to airport screenings. He says that certain operators, like ticketed charter flights, are able to bypass screenings that are required on commercial airline flights. That's why he's introducing the Safer Skies Act. Stephen Shem with the Association of Flight Attendants explains.
The Safer Skies Act would level the playing field and require all Part 135 and Part 380 operators to ensure that all passengers and their luggage undergo the same security screening as all other commercial aviation passengers.
Langworthy says it's the first step in a wider agenda of a commitment to safety in the skies.
We must continue to improve and maintain the safeguards and protect passengers and crew from preventable tragedies.
So far, the caucus has 26 members, 13 Republican and 13 Democrats. In Washington, I'm Molly Martinez.
Back here at home, the Ector County Utility District held a public meeting today to discuss the proposed ECUD tax and water rate hikes. This would ultimately raise property taxes for 2024. First Alert 7's Sierra Burnett was at that meeting, and she spoke with members of the Ector County community that are against the proposal. Sierra?
Ultimately, after all concerns were voiced, the ECUD board decided not to increase the water tax rate. The current tax rate for 2024, a no new revenue tax rate, collects the same amount of property tax revenue for the 2023 and 2024 fiscal year. By proposing a raise in property taxes, the revenue will go up in 2024. The proposal talked about in the meeting is the highest tax rate that ECUD could have. That would not need an election to get the rate approved. People in Ector County spoke against the proposal, saying they did not trust the board and were concerned about raising the property tax.
The general manager said they have enough money. What I will tell you is in 2019, they took out over a $45 million loan without bringing it to the voters. And those of us who have water are saddled with paying that back.
When questioned about the reasoning behind these new proposals and how it would affect people in the district, the ECUD board declined to comment.
This board and ECUD needs to be more transparent about what they do, and they need to be held physically accountable for how they spend their money, and they need to let the public know how they're doing their money.
Moving forward, the public would like to be more involved and wants the board to be more transparent about how they're spending the funds. Reporting for First Alert 7 News, I'm Sierra Burnett.
Thank you, Sierra. I should say, sorry. Turning now to some political news. United States presidential candidates Donald Trump and Kamala Harris faced off last night in Philadelphia. Now, not only was it the first time Trump and Harris met face-to-face, but it may also be their only debate before the 2024 presidential election this November. With less than 24 hours since the debate, discussions are already heating up across the country, and that includes right here in West Texas. Local party chairs analyzed a number of the debate's aspects. This included their opinion of the demeanor of the candidates, opinions on their communication styles, how they thought the candidates approached the issues, and the debate's overall tone.
Neither one of those really had a good discussion. I mean, he tried to bring up his points, but I don't think he was ever really fully able to make those. And frankly, she really deflected on a lot of those issues.
Night and day. She has a better sense of what the issues are and a comprehensive, tangible working knowledge of those issues.
The debate provided plenty of material for both sides to analyze as the election continues to heat up. And just a reminder, early voting begins in 30 days and the election will take place on November 5th. This year, the Permian Strategic Partnership is focusing once again on their Permian Votes campaign. They're hoping to see a massive turnout at the polls. This campaign focuses on registering new voters across the Permian Basin and encourages them to make their voices heard, especially as the region continues to grow and change. According to the Permian Strategic Partnership, the Permian Basin elections decided by less than 10% of area residents.
Populations over between Odessa and Midland and others, it's over 350,000 just in this area. So you can just imagine, take 10% of that. So it's very, very low. So we have taken it upon ourselves to get out and do the outreach to train voter registrars and to also spell out the importance of getting registered to vote.
The last day to register to vote in Texas is October 7th, and for New Mexico, it's on October 8th. If you're looking for something to do this weekend, consider taking a trip to historic Fort Stockton. Starting tomorrow and ending Sunday, you can attend Barrio Fest, an event celebrating Hispanic culture.
We want to bring out the culture and the historic part of our barrio. We have tons of families and businesses that have tons and tons of history. So we want to highlight those pieces in our self-guided tours as well.
Turning now to some health headlines. Starting next Wednesday, if you're a veteran, you can go get your flu shot for free at any West Texas VA healthcare system location. We've got a list of those clinics up on our website. That's firstalert7.com. And coming up in local sports, we talk to you about this week's Player of the Week. Stick around. Let's talk some local sports. First Alert 7's Player of the Week. He's in Wink, and it's Kimad Fishion. He led the Wildcats to their first win of the season last Friday. First Alert 7's Jensen Young caught up with him earlier this week and learned more about his performance. He's got the latest.
Kamad Fashion is a running back and linebacker for the Wink Wildcats. He was a big part of Wink's 49-26 win over the Stanton Buffaloes. Fashion ran for 124 yards and scored 4 touchdowns. He had a great individual performance, but he is the first to thank his coaches and teammates for his success.
Well, I have to give credit to a lot of the coaches and also the O-line. You know, without those blocks they do, it's impossible to score, you know, because we need the O-line to win games, not only for defense, offense and defense, you know, just both sides.
You know, Kamad is a ultimate team player. He scored 4 touchdowns and never celebrated one of them more than he did his teammates scoring on the other touchdowns that we had. You know, he loves his teammates and he loves for them to have success, and you know, he just feels like running the ball and scoring touchdowns and getting yards is his job.
Kamad is only a sophomore, and head coach Brian Gibson describes him as a tremendous talent and a big reason the Wildcats always have a chance to win. To prepare for success in any game, Fashion keeps 2 things at the front of his mind.
Give all glory to God, try my best, and we win, we lose, we lose. At the end of the day, we all get better as a team. We all worked hard for it, you know, just try my best out here.
Thank you, Jensen. I've got good news for high school football fans. This week, we don't have to wait until Friday for a game. Tomorrow night, the Permian Panthers will be at home for a Thursday game against the Abilene Eagles. Now, a quick important note about that game. Ratliff Stadium is located in the area of the boil water notice that we talked about earlier in the show, but according to ECISD, it will not affect the game, and concessions will only be working with bottled water. Now, back to the game. Abilene enters ranked number 7 in 5A Division I. They had the upper hand on Mojo last year. If you'd like to watch the full game between Abilene and Permian, make sure you tune in to KWWT My 30 for our game of the week. Kickoff will be at 7 o'clock. Turning to the baseball diamond tonight, the Midland Rockhounds. They began Game 2 of their 6-game series with the Corpus Christi Hooks. That first pitch was at 6:30, and it's their final regular season series of the year before they host the Frisco Rough Riders in the Division Series next Tuesday.
Well, we are looking at pretty quiet conditions. Nice evening out there for everything across the area, but a big warm-up is in the forecast, and we'll tell you about that up next.
Now, from the First Alert 7 Weather Center, here's Chief Meteorologist Tom Tiefertiller.
Well, things are quiet here in West Texas, but it's a different story, though, around New Orleans. This is a look at the live eye cam On the north side of New Orleans, right on Lake Pontchartrain, you can see heavy rain, flooding, and starting to see a little bit of storm surge associated with this in New Orleans itself, and also looking at wind gusts and hurricane force around 71 to 75 miles an hour here this evening across those areas. Again, we are seeing that start to move onshore, and it's moving in right across portions of New Orleans right now, where they do have flash flood emergencies for the city of New Orleans, where up to 5 to 7 inches of rain has fallen in those areas and moving off to the north and northeast. For us, we're on the dry side of everything. Maybe see a couple of clouds overnight tonight associated with this trough that's going to roll through, but overall, though, a ridge of high pressure is going to build in, and that's really going to start to warm things up here over the next couple of days. Across the state of Texas, you can see where the spin associated with that hurricane is located, moving in across southeast Louisiana into Mississippi. But back across West Texas, though, we are looking pretty quiet right now across the area. And again, the closest clouds are up here across portions of northeast New Mexico. Temperatures today warmed up a little bit. We had a lot of dry air moving down across portions of the central and south Texas area, and that kept temperatures into the lower to mid 90s this afternoon. We were up to 87 degrees, but 93 in Presidio. Again, one of our hot spots. Not much cloud cover, maybe a high cloud or two in the forecast, extreme eastern Permian Basin to wake up to. But we're going to see pretty quiet conditions in our forecast for tomorrow and continuing into Friday with mostly sunny skies, and that's going to allow temperatures to warm up quite a bit. So for the rest of tonight, not quite as cool as last night. Lower 60s on the way under the clear skies and light southeast winds that look to continue tomorrow, but temperatures will warm up lower to mid 90s tomorrow afternoon. But you get west of the Pecos, temperatures approaching 100 degrees around Pecos, 101 in Presidio tomorrow afternoon. Everybody gets in on that, as we'll be pushing 100 across the Midland Odessa Big Spring area coming up on Friday, and continued hot for the weekend with temperatures starting out at 96 on Saturday, cooling off with a few more clouds to 93 and staying in the 90s, but not too bad next week, and really not much in the way of rain chances anytime soon.
Up next here at 9, Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick has released more issues for the state Senate committees to consider ahead of the upcoming legislative session. That story and more in your news across Texas when we come back. Across Texas, Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick has released more issues for the state Senate committees to consider ahead of the upcoming legislative session. Items on the list include re-examining how Texas holds runoff elections and reviewing laws to keep non-citizens off voter rolls. Patrick also directed senators to recommend legislation aimed at masked protesters, claiming some conceal their identities in order to commit crimes. He also wants to examine higher education institutions that still have diversity, equity, and inclusion programs, despite a ban that was enacted last year. And the Latino civil rights group LULAC says it's in discussion with federal authorities after raids on some of its members. The group's national president says he met with the U.S. Attorney General and the FBI yesterday to discuss how to resolve the issue. Attorney General Ken Paxton directed authorities last month to raid the homes of several LULAC members, and Paxton says it was part of a 2-year investigation into alleged election fraud. LULAC calls the actions voter intimidation and claims it's part of an effort to deter Latino voters. All right, Tom, take a look at this. A North Dakota farmer went skyward to ask for his girlfriend's hand in marriage. It's Justin Lehman, and he planted soybeans in such a way that they formed the phrase, "marry me." This took a lot of time.
That did.
A lot of planning went into that. Lehman said that he came up with the soybean message idea last May and used technology and precision planting to make sure that the words came out perfectly. Of course, the only way that Haley, Lemon's future bride, could see the proposal was from above. So he had a friend who's a pilot take the couple on an aerial crop tour. She saw the surprise message and said yes. You know, I gotta say, if someone told me that they wanted to go on an aerial crops tour, I don't think my first thought would be that they were proposing to me. That's not something that I think is super romantic. So
you know something's up, though.
It's maybe. Because why? I mean, unless they're super into, maybe, I mean, it sounds like they're super into crops, so maybe it is a thing that
at least she said yes.
Yes, exactly. You know, they plan on getting married in between planting and harvesting next year. Thanks for joining us for First Alert News at 9 on the CW. We've got more news.